Hello, Starlight! Name's KTRON from KTRON Universe. The video that you're about to see was streamed over on my Twitch channel on KTRON Universe Live. If you want to go and see it, well, I stream every Sunday from 12 p.m. Australian Standard Time. Australian Central Standard Time, to be more specific. I mostly do art, so if you want to come along and also have a drawing session with me, I'll be very much appreciated. Because, I don't know, it gets lonely over there sometimes. Well, anyway, if you have read the title, I'm going to be talking about some tips and tricks about telling the story, and also that it is one of these hardest things to do just to basically just get started. Starting any project, comics included, is really hard to do. It's understandably, as there are many things that you need to consider and keep in mind before you even think about drafting the first page of your comic, because there is the characters. The story needs to be told about characters, right? Or what setting that you're going to be using, and also more factionality. How's your story going to be laid out? You could also like go down the route of Goblin Slayer and what's the other one? Overlord. That's it. And do it as a novel, then that of an actual comic. The comic part comes later. Well, technically it's a manga, and also there's a difference, right? Because the difference between a comic and a manga is color, and it's being read in two opposite directions. But if Saturday AM has taught me anything, manga can be read in either direction or created in either direction. It's more about adding color. Because you see, manga is primarily black and white, while comics are very colorful. And also, there's two very different things about it. Because if you do it in black and white, the backgrounds are subjective. Like, you don't always have to draw in the background. But in color, you have to. You have to every single time, just so that you can set the scene, essentially. It's this very bizarre thing that I found, that if you're doing it in color, then you also have to draw the backgrounds, and also that's going to take longer to do. And also, it's completely understandable, especially when you consider that a single manga artist can do what a team for one comic can do within the same period of time, which is absolutely fascinating to me. Because a chapter from a manga can be anything from around 10 to 20 pages. But when you're starting out, it has to be 50. And also that also goes for comics as well. Because if you try and upload any sort of comic onto like a few websites, there is Beacom, I think it's called. You can also do like a small thing for Saturday AM because they advertise that type of thing, but they require you to have 50 pages of your comic or manga done. So then they can have a read through it and also see if it's actually capable and also mature enough for like their site. For Saturday AM, they can probably move it over to Saturday PM if it's a good enough story. But I digress. I completely went off script here. But then again, the script is subjective because I don't like reading scripts. Because it means I have a more robotic voice. But yeah. Yeah, I've got myself a new headset in which I'm using to listen back to my voice, because I was using mostly plugins. This one actually covers the whole entire ear. It has a attachable mic, which isn't being picked up by my computer, which is sad. So I'm using my very old Blue Yeti, And also my voice sounds so much more better because I'm using it, and also using it properly, because my voice, well, I mean, my mouth isn't that far away from it, but when I'm streaming, my hands are in the way, and also I like relaxing and pulling back a bit, so you can tell that my voice is coming in and out. Excuse me. Where did that come from? So, how about we get back on the track? So yeah, you can tell that there is a lot to think about from where you're gonna put it once the comic or what you've done of it is finished. You can also put it up onto your own website, but that requires an annual fee just to keep your website up and running, which is why you also need like a casual job to go alongside it, or somehow get very lucky with Patreon and also get following from that. It's hard. Trust me, I would love to do a website, but I cannot get a job for the life of me. It's sad, but it's true. So yeah, I've tried to reach out my feelers to try and get some paid work for my art, but nothing has come back, which is also sad. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of things. The simplest thing to do is to split it up into sections. So, for example, everything to do with characters you put into one section, another one for like world, story building, religion, culture, that type of thing, and put it into one section. Story, like the main plot of the story, put it into another section, and how your comic or manga is going to be laid out into another section. If it's narrative, like a novel, then you don't really need to bother about that, because you just type along, and also you can just go into much detail at the second time, and also you don't really need to worry about pictures, unless if you're putting pictures in at the beginning of every chapter, or like right in the middle of the book, which is absolutely a great idea, which is something that you should do, especially when you like putting stuff on the cover. You want people to know what you think that your characters look like, because they may have a different interpretation in their heads. But yeah, splitting it up into sections is a really good idea, and then you can go and work on one section until you like kind of burns out or bored with it, and then you can move on to another section. And also when that's bit burnout from there, you move on to another section, and then completely repeat throughout the 3 different sections. So then you are always working on it, but not completely feeling burnt out about it. And then when you're like saying making the character, and also they're based on the religion that you've already made, well, congratulations, you just created yourself a shortcut, which is really, really handy. Especially since a few of my characters are based on like real world traditions, and also you can yet see it in as I'm yet making the first page of my comic that you yet seeing here from my stream. There are, if I can just bring it up, this is a terrible recording session, which is most likely going to stay in because I am that terrible with editing. Yeah, because I don't have any notes on hand, certainly. So, okay. So, as you can yet see here, I have multiple different races, each one based on a type of uniqueness to them. So, like, for example, the fire isn't based primarily on Aboriginal culture. Hello. Okay. This part is going to be cut out. Okay. We started in 3, 2, 1. So, for example, the Fire Nation, when the Fire Nation attacked. Yes, yes, I'll get the Avatar reference. They're mostly based on what's it called? Kind of like an Indian type of culture. Mostly think of Aladdin, that type of thing. And also you can tell by like the heating's on, and also things are just gonna get absolutely messy. Um, they're based of jinns in particular, where they don't actually have like this wish granting power, but they do have the ability to manipulate fire. And also, you'll find that in most cultures they have a very good representation of like fire and also that type of thing. And also I thought, I might as well mix it in and also call them jinns, because originally I was gonna call them like a Pacific fire jinn, which but with a little bit of research found out that they were actually like demons and evil and that type of thing. And also I thought, okay, I'll push them aside for like the enemy bad guys that might pop up. And so I called them instead jinns, because they are really hot, love dancing, and also loves the music. So basically, then that's a jinn for you. Next, nature, elf. Every fantasy world has basically an elf, so they're like stereotypical, big long ears, and there are many different types of elves. There is, mainly going off my interpretation of an elf, which is inspired by the typical Lord of the Rings, D&D, especially D&D, because that's primarily where I've learned most of my elf, because I'm a big D&D nerd. Yeah. So at the moment I have 3 different types of elves. There is the high elf, dark elf, which I'm probably have to rename, but I think the dark elf is fine because that's mostly like part of like elven history and tradition by now. High elf, that definitely gonna have to change. And then there is the blood elf, which is the corrupted elf, which works on the bad side and also that type of thing. That's as much as I'm going to go into it. There is the dwarves, which are the part of the earth element. I really like the dwarves and also how they are basically designed, because they're short in stature, and also it has this very good accent, which is a little bit Swedish. But overall, they're very Viking like. But I'm keeping the Norse mythology for mostly the air. So instead, the very dwarfs, very much like English, like European, that type of thing. They're like a main gist of it. The main reason which I really like these guys so much is because they are like a subspecies of human, and also humans are in this world. If you have a look at the lower part, but still, they're still technically humans, but they're more adapted to the earth element, so they're born with the earth elemental power. And so that will lead us to the air. The air are very unique, as they are basically like very heavily based on Norse mythology, with like the Valkyrie. And also that's their main point of inspiration. But I also take inspiration from like angels, and No Game No Life. I'm sorry, but it has to be said. And it's not Icarus. It's oh come on, I was reading up on it. Mercury, that's it. The messenger god of Greek mythology. In that the air elementals, the avians, which I'm not 100% on the name. It's there as a staple, not as an imprint. Is my terminology of stuff. The avians are born with 3 different wings placements, so they can be born with like wings on their backs, wings on their hips, or wings like at their ankles, and also they can manipulate the winds to do different flight speeds. So for example, if the wings are on their ankles, they can hover but not fly. Ones on the backs can fly, but they need like a special apparatus to create like a bird's tail. Maybe I might do that. Or they can just manipulate the air just so that they can have like control. And then anybody with like animal type of abilities, because there are people with percentage of animal characteristics. So kind of like the faunus in Ruby, or Therians in the normal mythology. Kind of like the nine-tailed fox. Technically a separate entity, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So a lot of this is still up in the air because I am an indecisive motherfucker. Yeah, it's been into the videos, and then I can do that. And finally, there is the water element. Now, this one took some time to finally decide upon, because I came up with so many good ideas for the water element. Because in mythology, there are several different depictions. There are Marrows from Scotland. There are the nymph, which are water manipulation type of things. They're kind of like slimes, but more intelligent and more water-based than slime-based, which is where I have to draw the line on it. I was originally going to call them like sirens, and also giving them the ability to essentially like shape change, as their bodies have the ability to change into a water type state, so then they can change their appearance at will, and also add an additional water to it. Basically, gives them more mass to play with for a period of time. And yeah, I decided that, again, the same with the fire, that I will push the name Siren aside so that I can do it for more mythological monster creatures that the players, well, not players, characters will have to face. I'm too used to D&D. And decided to call them nymphs. I don't know if that is the correct spelling. I have to look it up. And then finally, it is the merfolk. Again, a reference to D&D, because that is probably the best way to explain their whole entire culture in particular, because merfolks are different to nymphs and narrows, as they do not have legs, nor do they have the ability to change between their tails and their legs. Nymphs and marrows have that ability, but merfolk do not, which is why they think of fishmen people from One Piece. That's a good representation and understanding of them, because They have their tails. They are fish people, and also they can swim and breathe in water. Merfolk do have the ability and also the capacity to breathe air, but with their fish legs, they are incapable of walking on land. They will be flopping around like a Magikarp. That's it. They'll be flopping around like a Magikarp. The Marrows, I needed to quickly put onto them, are more of in the Spanish. No, it's not Spanish. Bleh, in Scottish. In Scottish mythology, they are very brutish and also meat hungry type of individuals. But to be honest with you, unlike the others that I pushed into to create monsters of category, I decided to keep the Marrow and also make him more of a good guy because I don't know, that punk type of vibe for them is actually really good, surprisingly. And also that they have more of a sea dragon type of feature that I went with them to give them more of I am going to strangle you, lad. And as they're like slowly walking up to you, they have that type of appearance, but they're really kind, unless if you piss them off. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to go for them. Again, in the ciphers. And then finally, we have to go to humans. Humans, unlike the other races, are not born being able to manipulate a particular element. Through training and mastering, not mastering, it's more like mostly through training, like a specific type of training, they are able to unlock either their specific element or an element that they were trained to adapt to. So, for example, if a human was trained to adapt to fire, they would eventually be able to manipulate and control fire. Kind of like a firebender, yes. But basically, they are treated as a fire element, and they won't be able to control any other element beside that. Or if you get train your body hard enough to the point where you will randomly get a random element, then you will get a random element from the ones that are there and also are not there. So, for example, the character at the very bottom of the page has the element of lightning, which is not adapted to any of the races. So humans are just a wild card in that they can pick up anything. And also, I thought that would be a really good trait because they are not born with an element, so that they just gain one randomly. And also, it's also helps to explain why humans have more ingenuity, that type of thing. It's like, look, there's things and stuff. Is there magic in the world? Yes, magic is considered an element. It's like, you have yourself some magic in the goddamn shit. Well, we invented our own electricity, which is why there's power and stuff. Most of that was found from the first ones, which is an ancient race of civilizations that was on the planet before any of the races which are here today. Nobody knows who they are, nobody knows where they went, and also that's where I'm going to end it. But they did leave some of their technology behind. Very old and rusted and also broken down, but they managed to reconfigure it and also figure out how it worked, and also brought it down to its base components and tried to replicate it. So they went through a steam phase, and then went into proper like electricity, and also figure out like how to get stabilized, kind of like crystalline energy. That's probably the wording that I'm gonna put there. Like, I'm gonna get like a board, or just not a staple. It's like a pin. I'm just gonna put it there for now. Crystalline energy. Huh. I gotta write that one down. That's actually not that bad. But yeah. Where was I going with this? I completely went off track. So yeah, that was a basic explanation of my whole entire uh, process of explaining the world in one page. Because at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. When you are making a fantasy story in a world which is not this Earth, you will have to explain explain the world in one page. My Hero Academia does that pretty well, but considering that it's based on Earth, that's kind of the exception. It's completely understandable to get spread to 1 or 2 pages, just so that you can just hammer it in, and then explain the more delicate details of the world later on, when people have a good understanding of what's the same and what's different. Because once your readers have figured out, and also what you explain to them, it's like, that's completely the same as in our world. Well, then they will have an understanding of like the barriers of where our understanding ends, and also where the fantasy begins. Setting up that line is key to basically telling the fantasy story. And also, I'm sorry if this is a complete ramble, but like I say, I do not like scripts. And also, I get to my main point by rambling and padding out, I believe, an 8-hour speed paint, which took 2 streams to draw up, by the way, to basically just pad out this runtime. Sure, I'm gonna speed it all up in the process because it is a speed paint, and I need to figure out how to put non-copyrighted music without destroying my voice in the process. My editing software is cheap, shall we say. It's a... Yeah, no, I'm just gonna keep it that, because I'm a cheap person. Anyway, how long have I been going for now? 28 minutes. Yeah, I think that's padding long enough. And also, so to sum everything up, you split up everything that you need to do into categories. You then work in those categories, and then when you become bored or want to do something else, you switch categories. So then you're constantly working on it. 3, figure out what type of manga or comic or novel that you want to do, and where you want to finally put it up. I'm still having a bit of trouble with that. Especially since I have come up... No, I'm not going to ramble anymore. I can save this for another episode. And finally, have fun. Save your time. You don't have to do it all in a way, but setting up benchmarks is an absolutely fine thing to do. Because I'm trying to get 10 pages done by the end of this month. And also, I'm close. I'm close to that deadline. If I could do more, I would. but I'm going to focus on doing 10 and doing the 11th once I finish the 10. Yeah, this episode has gone on for 30 minutes now, so I'm going to end it up here. Thank you, everybody, and also I hope that you enjoyed. If you want to check out my stream, once again, that is over on KTRON Universe Live, which is at Twitch. Streaming every Sunday from 12 p.m. ACST, which is the Australian Central Standard Time. And also make sure that you subscribe and also like, because I'm hopefully. Please comment down below furiously if I do not do this, but I will try to get an episode out every Friday. If I do not, please pander me in the comments. Or just send messages over in anywhere on my social media, like Twitter, Facebook. I tried Instagram. Don't particularly like it that much because of the stuff. Yeah, I'm just rambling. I'm just gonna stop. Hope to see you all Friday. Or maybe Sunday. Oh, that would be amazing. Hope to see you all Sunday.